Hi, my name is John Hudsdon. The purpose of the video today is to learn how to chain up and some preparedness for you when you're out in the field.
And I'm Robert, and I do a lot of the chain training here at Sysco, and we'll be covering chains, terminology, and application.
So one of the first things we need to make sure we're doing each and every day, especially in the wintertime, is to make sure we drain the excess moisture out of our tanks. So we have valves here to do that. Just that. So you can hit this. And we also have other valves here. So we're draining all the excess moisture out of our air lines so they don't freeze and cause problems when we're out in the field. Second thing, we need to make sure we have safety cones because we do have to protect our workspace. And when we're under a vehicle or we're chaining up, the workspace we're protecting is anywhere that we're going to be. So the obstacles, so if I started chaining up a tire, I would put one over here and over here as well. So when I'm kneeling down and getting my chains ready and setting them up, that I have my workspace protected.
Once we've repaired, or once we've set up a safe workplace, go ahead and pull your chains off the chain rack. You want to lay them out like this. This is what we call a two-railer, and this is what we call a three-railer, simply for the fact that there's two rails for the outside, and there's three rails. More terminology that you'll hear during this video. This is a pigtail. This is a connection end. This is a lateral. This is a tension cam, which you'll need a key for. And this is one of the different styles of connection. You'll see over here on this two-railer that the connection is very different. This is a lockdown for this style. And for the three-rail style, this is your lockdown.
Now that we've decided it's time to chain up, we're going to make sure the first thing we do is lay a tarp or some type of cloth down to help protect us from getting wet. And next, I'm going to put up some safety cones to protect my workspace. Now I'm going to come over to the side of my truck. Okay, so over here I'm going to grab my chains. I don't want it to flip over on me as I'm working, so I'm going to put it up out of the way. I'm trying to carefully fold them in so that I don't cause a mess and make it harder for me when I get back over. And also you're going to see I'm also going to grab my cam lock, my tool, my trade. You sit this down. Preparation is the key to success. So you want to make sure you lay out everything to put on. So which I need to do here. Hold on. Okay.
Yep.
Now that I've got here, going around in circles. This will be for the blooper one. All right, going down here. So one of the things I was doing there is I want to make sure the cams are free, they're not already tightened. And then I want to make sure when I lay this down, the cams are going to be towards here because when I pick the chains up, they'll go like that. But I also want to make sure all the links here so these do not dig into the tires. So once I do that, I'll squat down. I got the chains. Put them here. Nice and loose. Everything's on the inside. That's fine.
Couple of quick notes. Make sure all of your cam tensioning devices are all open. And you need to find the center of the tire. So count your laterals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the center of our chains is going to be roughly right here. You cannot drag chains across the tire. You have to walk them. Get yourself centered. Do your double check, looking for your lateral to come in to the base of the tire. So now you are roughly centered, which is going to go a long ways into making the chain job go easier. Make sure that you're somewhat centered before you do your attachment.
Okay, so we're going to grab near the center because their triple railers are a little heavier. So to fold them, you're going to grab from here. You're going to grab the middle, which folds them over. Now you're going to put them on your knee. Perfect. So by folding them over, now, because triple railers, the biggest complaint is how heavy they are. So now I'm going to take the center, flip them over. And then we're going to do the same basically maneuver, count them like Robert showed us earlier. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13,
And should be
14. So basically 7 would be the center. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're about the center.
There's a couple of different methods to hooking your chains up to the tractor and the trailer tires. One is where you sit in place and you will go ahead and use your fifth wheel puller or a bungee and slide between. This particular demonstration, we're going to roll forward. So you're going to want to have all of your chains on your trailer and your tractor before you move forward. And we're just going to simply connect the outside so we don't have any slide, which is nice because this is a newer style, came out about 2 years ago. We'll go ahead and do that connection just so that we can roll forward. Come over here to this one. This one is slightly different. This is a very old style that they've been using for many, many years. So, as we get ready to lock this down, take a mental note on if you have used tires or brand new tires. A brand new tire, you'll be in the pigtail range of 3, 2, or maybe even the very last link. But if you see the tire has some wear, you'll go from the third link, maybe to the second. And if the tires are very old, when you do your connection, you might even have to use the last link on the pigtail. But for right now, we're going to go ahead, get this set, bring this over, put it through the loop, and lock it down. This is just so that you can pull forward, because the next step, after we have got all of our chains prepped, we're going to move forward so that we can have our inside connection access right here without having to bend over or strain ourselves in any way. Be the same for this one. At that point in time, you want to check your clearance between your tires to see if you have to pull your mud flap. Do not worry if it is a DOT issue, because on the FMCLSA it says mud flaps only have to be on the back unit. Even if you're pulling a set of triples, you only have to have mud flaps in the back as long as you're pulling a trailer. So you can pull the mud flap off if you see that you need that clearance.
The question we often ask ourselves is, how far do I need to pull the truck forward? So one thing that we can use to help with that is we're going to use one of our cones. So I'm going to bring it up here. I'm going to put it roughly in the center of my tire. And then I'm going to get in the truck, I'm going to pull forward. Then when I can look down, I can see it. That's roughly about 2 feet. And that should be enough where the chains are where I need to position correctly where I can hook them together. As I pulled my truck forward, I was looking for where the cone is, meeting about where my head is. And that should be plenty of distance. So I'm going to use my 3-point stance while exiting the vehicle.
I want to pan over to the connection.
Take my cone, bring it back over here. Now that we pulled forward and got our chains ready to tighten on the inside, you want to make sure that everything's lateral and not like this, because you want to make sure they're tight when you do tighten them up, because if they're this way, they're going to be too loose. So let me reach around the back. So as you're going to notice, this is my hook that's going to hook into my back part of my chain. So I'm going to reach in. You may have to pull your chains forward to get it hooked. Okay, so now I got it hooked on that side. Nice and tight. Let's go ahead and unhook this. And we're going to tighten this as much as we can. And obviously these chains have probably been stretched out a little bit. They've been here a while. I cut for a sec. Let's go back in here. May have been over anxious, got them a little too tight. There we go. I'm going to hook that in place. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my cam lock tool.
In most of our vehicles, you'll find the chain lock tools on either side of the door. All depends on the last driver who chained up, if he finished on the driver's side or he finished on the passenger side. Over the years, there's been 3 different designs that have come out. There are 2 different sizes of this, and then there's a newer style, which is our big, thick, heavy one. Here you go, John. See which one of those fit.
Yeah, I'll take this one here. Thank you, Robert.
You're very welcome.
So this is also one of the things we need to make sure that we have on our pre-trip. Let's come over here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten my cams. That one felt a little snug there. That was good. Let me go ahead and tighten down here. I usually tighten in a crisscross pattern, up and down, as I work my way around. So now they're getting fairly tight and snug, and that's what we want. The secret to not breaking chains is to have your cams very tight, and you want to get them as snug as possible, like right now. Now
Very nice set of chains, John.
I should never need a bungee. So after I do this, then I'm going to pull forward and I'm going to retighten again. The only thing I'd probably use a bungee for is to grab my loose chains so it's not dangling and hitting things.
Okay, now it's time for the triple railers. So let's talk about mud flaps. It is legal to pull your mud flap, especially on chainy days, but you don't want to leave it laying where you pull it. You can do 2 things. Policy. You'll bungee cord this to your deck. And secure it down. Make sure that your connection hook is as far away from your hoses as possible, because if at some point you have to do a sharp turn, you don't want them to get caught up in there. Most likely, there's going to be some sort of cotter pin. Make sure you attach it back in there so that you don't end up losing it and then losing a mud flap later. For right now, we'll put this key here. Key thing is your connections. Is go ahead. We seem to have, oh, we're just looped a little bit here. Let's get that pulled out of there. Here, here. And this is our problem right here. You'll deal with this a lot. Your J-hook can easily get connected onto something that we don't want it to be connected to. So I'm trying to take all the slack out as much as possible. John did a great job pulling forward. Okay, now we're going to hook up our 3-railers. So if you end up getting stuck on a hill or you can't get traction, these are the chains. You'll be able to go straight up a 90-degree wall once you got your 3-railers on and tight. So let's go to the inside connection. Sometimes it can be difficult. You just got to pull the slack out, put it through the J-hook. For this demonstration, we are on the outside, the very last link on the pigtail. Now we're going to go towards the middle. Get that hooked up. Eventually. Okay, got good connection. Now we'll work our way to the outside connection. So this is critical. Your tension calipers here are going to be what pulls the entire set this way and giving you the tension you need all the way through. So make sure that you take it to whatever length is what's going to give you the best, tightest result. So let's go to 2. See if we can get that to work. Pretty easy. Maybe too easy. Let's go to number 3. Okay, now we've got the tension we're looking for. As I bring this up, you'll see it's lifting all the chains. Bring this into our connection link. And you know what, boys and girls? I think we're going to put ourselves together a great set of chains.
All right, let's go ahead and tighten the cam. So as you can see, these are all really tight as it is. I may only be able to get one. So let's take a look. So on this one, you may have to wrench on a little bit to get that pressure.
Besides breaking a link, you're going to want to bungee your connections. The weakest spot on these old style chains is this connection that can move back and forth. So you're going to want a bungee to secure your 2 connection points. And with this, my best suggestion, just go ahead and create tension. Go ahead and create a lock over the top of the back of this arm. Bring it down and hook it up. So especially when we're going to move forward here in just a moment, you don't want, if there's any slack, for this to come apart, or you're going to start all over again having to pull your chains and put them back on. If for any reason your tire spins when you're trying to move forward, you'll lose this connection. And the same with this connection here.
Now that I pulled my truck forward, let's take a look and see how loose these are. Wow, these things are loose. So as we can see, by just moving our truck a little bit, we're going to have to reposition our cam locks. So let me go ahead and tighten these now. Before I couldn't turn one, now, let me see. Perfect. And as you can see, this is now starting to get really tight. So now these are a lot tighter. Let's take a look at my other one over here. Well, oh, by golly, this one is still as tight as all it could get up here. So as you can see, every time we reposition our vehicle, it gives us an opportunity to retighten those. So it's important and necessary after you initially put them on to move forward or drive for a small amount of time, not very far, and then do it again and tighten them.
Okay, we've had a successful day of delivering. No accidents, everybody happy, and the snows began to melt, or you got back in the yard. Now it's time to take off your chains. You want, at this particular day, we were favored, and our connection points are in an exposed area. When you get out to take off your chains, take a quick walk around your rig and make sure that your connection points are all exposed. If they're not all exposed and only half of them are exposed, you might have to do this process 2 times. So let's go ahead and do a disconnect. Going to put all of these in the open position. We're going to go to the inside. If there's too much tension on your chains, you can get slack by just bringing your chains over a little bit, and that'll give you the slack to do your next disconnect. And then give myself a little bit of slack here to make it easy. Okay, so we're going to pull our chains off, and we're going to pull them to the outside. Depending on your room, you'll be going backwards or forwards. Keep an eye in your rearview mirror to see where your chains are. You want to make sure you pull them to the outside so you don't damage these for the next time that you have to chain up or your connection points. So let's go to the next one. Loosening our cams. Should only need it for the first one. Open them up. Disconnect. Pinch it. Pop it through. Let it go. We'll go to our inside J-hook. If we need some slack, pull the chain up. Take them off, pull them to the outside to protect our connection points. Quick review, go back around the truck, make sure that you were able to get all of them exposed. Continue the same process all the way around the truck. Now it's time to either pull forward or pull backwards, depending on traffic, where you're parked, and the length of space you have available. There's an alternative way, and it's all according to your preference, but my favorite way to chain up is a self-turn, as we call the pit method. There may be a point where you can't move. Either you stopped uphill or you've backed into a dock for terrain. For some reason or another, you're not able to move your truck back and forth to get to your connection point. Therefore, your connection point is going to have to be at the bottom. So we're going to follow the same procedures. We're going to find our center. On a quick recap, that's 7 and 7. All chains for a 22.5 tire have 14 laterals. You can't drag it. You got to walk it. Take a quick look here. You can see our laterals right there at the bottom. Our lateral is right here at the bottom. Next, we covered having to give yourself some slack. So give yourself a little bit of slack. You can use, if you have a fifth wheel puller, they're about that long. You can go ahead and use that to push the pigtail through. Or you can use a bungee. Anything that you have to push the pigtail through. Grab the end of your pigtail, put your bungee in between the two tires, but leaving access so that you can still get a hold of the bungee, hook it up, slide it through in between the two tires, keeping an eye on that slack. I'm going to pull the bungee through, bringing the pigtail. Going to give myself a little more slack here. There we go. That's the ticket. Grabbing my J-hook. I'm going to put it through the second loop. I'm going to pull my bungee back out. And the rest is just the same. Pull the tire to the outside, or pull the chain to the outside. And one thing that's really neat about this particular method is if you don't have a snow shovel, you can actually cut through the snow going back and forth and even giving you an even better connection. So on this one, I used the second loop on the pigtail. It seems like it's going to transmit straight to the outside. Following our same method, we are going to get all the slack to this side as we possibly can. Straighten out our laterals. Start locking it down. If any of you are mechanics, it's just like if you do brakes, if you put a new head on your vehicle, you always want to do a combination. So we're tight here now, so now I know I've got to go to the other side of the tire. Backwards. When you start hearing that sound, you know that you're nice and tight. Lock, lock, lock. Connection. Here's the last one. So let's give it our big tug. See if we can get it. One of the benefits to the pit method is, especially if you're in traffic, you're going to be tight the first time. You don't have to roll back over them again because your connection point is down here. I advise, if you do have the room, roll forward, take a moment, check your chains, make sure your bungee is on your connection point, which is your weak spot, and you're good to go. If you have 2 bungees per tire, I recommend it personally, because if you're going 25 miles an hour and you break a lateral, when you turn, you're going to have a natural, whichever side you're turning on is going to want to pull your broken chain in between your 2 tires. Your bungee cord creates enough tension that if you do break a lateral, it pulls it off together, sends it to the outside, and you don't end up having a 2-hour delay having somebody with an arc welder come out and cut the chains out in between your tires. So before you leave each day, a solid bungee count is recommended.
Okay, now that we've taken our chains off, one of the more important things we can do is put them away. So I want to make sure that there's nothing hooked up that's going to cause an issue. And let's hook them up starting on the inside. And we're just going to weave them in, making sure none of the links are tight or broken or anything like that. We're also inspecting our chains as we put them back on to make sure the next time something does happen or we have to chain, that we have good, proper working equipment. So as you notice, I'm just doing a weaving pattern, making sure these babies are nice and on there correctly. There we go. Hold on a second. I did get that one a little twisted. There we go. Okay, now they're nice and tight. Go ahead and loosen this up. And we're going to stow these for the next person. Okay. So we just did a demonstration on how to install chains and actually remove them and make your next trip a very successful one. So let's, as a reminder, we want to make sure that we're always having the proper PPE. One of the first things I want to make sure everybody knows, wear a safety vest. Your reflective clothing is vital because you don't want to be hit when you're out on the road. Also, make sure you do have a flashlight or a headlamp. I usually carry a headlamp because I want to have my hands free at all times. Also, extra water is very important. Gloves, because you will be swapping those in and out because they will get wet. And also socks and even a sweatshirt.
One good thing to do is, especially since you might be unloading in between chains, or you might even chain up twice in a day, you have your extra set of gloves. and you throw them up on your dash. Keep your defroster on, so as you go through your day that you constantly have a nice pair of warm gloves to put on, instead of having to go and deliver possibly with wet gloves. So make sure you ask your supervisor about getting some more gloves. Additionally, John covered making sure that the air tanks were drained. One of the things that can happen if you do have any moisture inside of your air lines, it'll freeze up and you will lose your brakes. You'll either have your brakes froze on or you'll have no brakes. So I cannot emphasize enough the importance. One of the mistakes drivers often make in freezing conditions is they set their trailer brakes. If you set your trailer brakes, the nature of the brake pad will actually freeze to the brake drum, and you either have to use a heavy sledge or possibly a torch to be able to get that to back away. So when you put it in gear and you're heading down the road, always do a quick juke to the left, make sure all of your trailer tires are turning, and a quick juke to the right to make sure that your passenger side tires are always going. We were talking about cam tools. Before you depart, and you might have to chain up during the day, make sure you do a thorough check and make sure that you have cam tools that match your chains. As you can see here, this is one particular style. This one is much more common. Over the last couple of years, this type has started to appear on the market, and we have purchased them. If you have a new bag of chains on your catwalk or in your cab, there will always be a matching cam tool to those chains when you open up the bag. So be sure to go ahead and look for that.
All right, just a reminder, don't forget, let's be out there and let's keep on trucking and be safe.